Right, there we go. It's 8 o'clock, it's Tuesday, and we are live. Welcome to the Sports Therapy Association podcast, aka Let's Talk About. My name is Matt Phillips, and welcome to you. Those of you joining us on YouTube. I know a few people are watching the live broadcast on YouTube because that suits you better. So do tell other people about that. You don't have to be part of the Facebook conglomerate to watch this. You can watch us live on YouTube as well. And of course, you can catch up afterwards on YouTube with the recording and also the podcast on your favorite podcast apps. So here we are. I'm just looking out for people joining us live in the Facebook group. And we always do encourage you, if you can join us live, then that's better because it gives you a chance. Well, loads of things. It gives you a chance to network, to meet and greet and talk to other fellow soft tissue therapists. And also it gives you a chance to actually ask direct questions to the speakers. And people are already flooding through the STA gates as we speak. When you do leave a comment, then I can bring you up on the screen like this. If you're listening to the audio, then you won't see what's on the screen. That's another reason to come in. So evening, Timothy, good to you. So yeah, if you join us live, your Facebook photo comes up with obviously the comment that you're leaving. Keith, STA Members in the house as well. How are you doing, Keith? Thanks for joining us, mate. I hope you're well. Becky is in the house. Hey, Becky, how are you? Becky's putting out some great stuff recently. I'm very excited, Becky, about you and the Runners Collective, putting out some great stuff. Really like it. Looking forward to chatting to you more in the future. Mark, talking of kings and legends. Oh, of course, you bring up Mark Nussing. Here he is with his Spider-Man logo. If you're listening to the audio, you really need to join us live. Okay, it's that simple. Namir, how you doing in the house as well? Nice to see you back again. Danny Matthews has joined us. And Cochrane is also here, and Gareth Thomas Davis is here. Great. So as you can see, I mean, we're really proud in the STA of how many people actually join live. It really, I think it's a reflection of everything we stand for. I mean, people are bothered to actually come live and join us and hang out for an hour on a Tuesday night when there's plenty of other things you could be doing in theory. So yeah, I love seeing you people live. It's really good, and I think it really reflects well on our organisation, or association, I should say. So there you go. So thanks for joining us. Right. Tonight, very excited because tonight's going to be all about you guys chatting about a recent survey that was put out by our Regional Rep Co-ordinator, Scott Loynes. Some amazing questions. I'm hoping some of you, well, in a way, I hope you all did it because that's the responsible thing to do. But I'm also hoping that some of you didn't do it because the questions in there were brilliant, and it's going to debate some really interesting discussion, which we probably won't all agree on. I hope we don't. Before I do, just in case you missed it, last week we had the charismatic and ever-informed John Gibbons talking to us live, which was a fantastic opportunity to hear from the man himself. He's just released another in his series of books, The Vital Nerves, which I have got, and I was going on and on about the visuals and the graphics. They are beautiful. It's a beautifully laid out book. Content is really easy to understand, and as you would have heard if you listened to the show last week, an awful lot of interesting ideas on how much we should be testing the peripheral nervous system. He was talking about use of the hammer and reflexes and a lot of things which maybe a lot of us don't do, all laid out perfectly in the book, and also his courses online. So if you haven't been there yet, I would definitely go and check out Body Master Clinic. That's his website, bodymasterclinic.co.uk, and look at some of the courses he's got there. Yeah, magnificent man, great speaker, loads of stories, been in the game for so long. So if you haven't heard it, then check it out on YouTube. And make sure you subscribe as well. I can't remember how many. I think there's like 100, definitely over 100, maybe 150 or something. People subscribe to the YouTube channel, which is beautiful. Thank you so much. And let me just get rid of that comment. There we go. And also the podcast. If you're on iTunes, do me a favor, go to your iTunes app, leave a rating, leave a review for Sports Therapy Association podcast. It really shoots us up in the rankings, and what that does for us, it doesn't make us any money. That's not what it's all about. It just makes us rank higher and appear more in search results when people are putting in soft tissue or sports therapy or sports massage. It just helps what we hope is the good word getting spread a bit more amongst therapists. So do take some time if you can. If you're on Android, then you need to go to iTunes on your laptop or something. But you can do the same thing. Just find us, leave a rating, leave a review. Much appreciated. So tonight, waiting patiently down in the lobby, we have founder Gary Benson, who's going to be up here talking and answering questions. And also like I say, the person who put this survey together, our Regional Rep Co-ordinator, Scott Loynes. So what I will do is I will bring them up now. If you're listening on the audio, I'll make sure I read out all of the questions in the surveys we have a look through. But like I say, if you are free Tuesday nights, make sure next time come and join us at 8 o'clock. Right, let's bring the gentleman up. Gentlemen, good evening. How are you?
Good evening. Evening all.
Nice to see you. How's it going?
All good. Yourself?
Yeah, all right. Just admiring your facial hair. Very nice. Gary, you look great as well.
Honestly, I'm 5, and if I started when I was 14, I still wouldn't have got a beard now.
I can't actually imagine you with a beard, to tell you the truth. But Scott,
No.
yeah, Scott, really nice to meet you face to face. We've talked on social media before, but obviously the first time we've met each other, as close as we can get to meeting. But
yeah,
regional
literally opposite end of the country.
Yes, I know. How's that going for you? How has it been?
It's good. I mean, it's obviously, I became kind of regional rep coordinator, I think, mainly because I came back to the profession and kind of after a career break, went back to uni over lockdown and wherever, kind of come back to the profession, started up again, seen STA stuff. I actually got a phone call out the blue from Gary, and I think I went on a bit of a rant, and I think that's why he kind of asked me to be the coordinator, because I just ranted about the industry and stuff. So and how I wanted to make a difference. It's going well at the minute. You know, we've got a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes which people don't see. So you know, we've got competitions coming up. The regional reps are working hard to try and engage with everybody as well. You know, up and down the country. You know, so this is more about kind of finding out what members want from not just us, from professional bodies in general, really. So that's why I did the survey. It wasn't for the STA. It was just my professional curiosity, wanting to find out what people's motivations were for being a member, and more importantly, not being a member. So, yeah.
Was it inspired by kind of COVID-19? Because people have obviously got more to complain about and more support looking for you.
Yeah, definitely. You know, we've all been on Facebook and seen the various comments of, can I work? Can I not work? Can I work? Who says this? Who says that? I've lost count of how many times I've seen Gary comment or one of us comment, ask your professional association. And it's either they're not taking any notice of the professional associations or they're not a member. Yet you still see these recurring questions every single day, asking the same questions when all the advice, government guidelines, association guidelines have all been put out. So it was more born out of frustration with that. And then somebody asked about joining an association. What's the benefits on one of the different Facebook groups? It wasn't ours. And the comment that really irked me, which set this in motion, was, I don't want to join a professional body because they'll make me do CPD. And then there was quite a few people in there saying, well, I don't want to do CPD. I was like, that's surely one of the reasons why you get into this, to learn and to help. If somebody qualified 10 years ago, doesn't join a professional body, and then doesn't do any CPD for 10 years, how is that right? So I wanted to find out what their motivations were, really, the reasoning behind it. So that was the reason behind the questionnaire.
I think it's more common than we think, where people, I mean, I remember having a famous argument with somebody, and they were really quite passionate about the fact that they'd been doing this game for 15 years. They knew what they knew. They had kids. I didn't have kids at the time. They had 2 kids driving them mad. And that was it. They had done with studying. They just wanted to use what they use, make a living, go home and just enjoy life. And at the time, I had no kids. I had loads of time. And I was like, oh my God, how can you be like that? But now I've got kids and I understand what it's like to want to use my time minimally and just clear my head. I kind of understand a bit more. So I sympathize sometimes with people who say I don't need any more CPD, but it makes me realize that not everybody's on the same page as us. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that's I don't know what the reason they give for not wanting to do
I think
CPD.
it's what people's idea of CPD is as well. You know, everybody. I was a member of somebody else before I joined the STA in lockdown, and I've been, you know, I qualified in 2006, so I had a bit of a career break in between. Went back to do my masters because it wasn't the right thing to just go, oh well, I could just get insurance somewhere. After 8 years of not practicing, it wasn't the right thing to do. So I went back to do my masters, and I waited until I'd done a year of my masters before I started working again. And then, is it right that I could have just got insurance and just carried on after 8 years? And then when I did join this other one, I got the CPD requirements through, and it was only allowing for 2 hours for CPD. It was very kind of prescriptive, and it was 16 hours a year had to be from courses and things like that, which I kind of looked at. I had a discussion with one of my tutors at the time, kind of going, is that right? You know, that's just money, 16 hours worth of courses every year. And I was like, surely, and they only allowed for 2 hours of journal critiquing a year. But surely journal critiquing is the most up-to-date evidence-based stuff we could do. It's one of the most access. You can do it from home. Everybody can do it. You know, these podcasts are CPD. Everybody learns something from different podcasts. Everybody learns differently. You know, it shouldn't be about what technique you use and kind of just going, oh, I'm going to go do this myofascial coupling, and then I'm going to just use it on everybody because I've just learned it and I need to justify my costs. And I think that's one of the reasons why people don't want to do CPD, because it's been hammered home for so long that it's all about money and it's all about going on courses and learning new skills, which is one of the questions I actually put in the survey about, is it about learning new skills or should it just be about other things?
Gary, you've been quite vocal, haven't you, already? But just for you listeners or people who aren't aware, you champion the fact that CPD doesn't have to mean traveling across the country to do a course, does it? You don't have to pay for it necessarily.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you go back to the beginning of the STA story, one of the things that I read was that if I started the STA, I was going to give up my teaching, and I was going to give up, you know, delivering courses. And the reason for that is, you know, as Scott mentioned, some of the associations out there are saying, yeah, do 16 courses. Well, they run a training school. You know, they have an official training provider in inverted commas. So they're in the business of selling courses, and I thought that was a conflict of interest. So what I decided, you know, after a lot of collaboration and consultation with industry professionals who I trust, the STA would have a totally different outlook at CPD. And I trust all the members to make their own CPD choices. Some might want to do Tai Chi. You know, it wouldn't necessarily interest me, but I respect that person's opinion to go and do a Tai Chi course and learn the art of movement. If they want to do that. But also as well, I thought, well, I can provide, you know, things like we're doing now, Matt, you know, these discussions and the podcast. I can provide some research papers from Claire Minshaw, some video content from Mike Grice or Dan Lawrence, and get people to review that, because you can do that from the comfort of your own home when your kids have gone to bed. I don't want people to travel the length and the breadth of the country, you know, especially now during this pandemic, and that's why we've relaxed our first aid obligation. We've said that, you know, if your first aid has expired, you know, then I'm happy for you to wait until we can get a course delivered, and it's safe for us to go and meet with other people in a training establishment. So we are very fluid with our policies. But yeah, I don't want people to spend inordinate amounts of money, secondary spend, if you like, on going and doing courses just to satisfy a policy that I and my advisors wrote. So I agree with Scott. You know, journals, you know, the most up to date, you know, CPD what one can get. But going back to the point that was made about, you know, you made it about 15 years ago. Somebody was trained and they were happy with their lot, so to speak. Well, you know, unfortunately, that person's still, you know, breaking down scar tissue, releasing myofascia and lengthening muscle fibers, because they haven't moved with the evidence. They don't know that we are having an effect, but it's not as we were originally taught, and some may say we were brainwashed. But that I reflect on my initial training, and I reflect on what I'm doing now. And I'm not working in clinical practice at the moment for my own health reasons. But when I do go back, it's going to be more complex case management than soft tissue, because I've personally moved away from that. And I'm coming to the end of my career, and to a certain extent, I'm going to pick and choose my clients, and so I can do those complex cases, the ones that really interest me.
Yeah, it's do you think that, I was going to say, I've totally lost my train of thought. I was just listening to no, I've totally lost what I was going to say now. I'll go to Keith. It'll come back to me. I was looking at a Keith thing about the journals. There is a paywall for certain journals. It's true, isn't it? But I think I discovered, I can't remember who I was talking to on One Chat Live, that a lot of the time, if you, I think it was Izzy Moore, actually, Dr. Izzy Moore, a lot of the authors, if you write to them and say, could you send me this paper, they'll quite happily send it to you. The journals do make a bit of money, like Keith says in the comments, there's a bit of a paywall on that. But it's amazing how many times, if you actually contact the author and he nice and politely say, I was interested in this paper, they will actually send it to you. And I've done it a few times now. So there is a way around the paywalls. But yeah, Keith Burnett says, yeah, he completely disagrees with it. But I think most universities, if you're affiliated with them, then they have access to it. And I mean, Scott, you mentioned the journals. Have you ever found that it's difficult to get hold of certain things, or?
It is now, because I've left university again. So, you click on BGSM stuff and you kind of go, you want to read this? Give me £30. Whereas, so literally before my kind of time was up, because I graduated, I literally finished over lockdown, and then got my certificate in the post about 2 weeks ago. So all my things were still live. So I'm not quite into that yet, because I still had access to the university stuff. But what I did was literally go through, find anything that was slightly useful to me, and I've just saved it. So I've got a lot in the backlog at the minute. But yeah, in time, so over the kind of next year, if stuff starts to come out, it is behind, a lot of it is behind a paywall. And I agree with Keith. I think me and Keith actually had a bit of a thing about talking about his PhD, and I was doing my research on concussion. So we had a bit of a discussion about that on a post months ago. And he was saying, I'll happily distribute it because it shouldn't be behind a paywall. And I agree with that. It shouldn't be.
Yeah.
But the problems is that, a lot of the research that comes out of journals is conducted in an academic environment. And they use platforms to share this research and share the journal articles, which has a commercial interest. So unless we can move away from that, and you mentioned BDSM, which is directly linked to therapists, so there's no way that the STA members are going to, get any sort of access. We have looked at a couple of ways of getting access, but they're infinitely expensive. For us as an association to buy access rights for all of our members, we're talking tens of thousands of pounds, and it's simply not feasible for us to do that. It's not viable. So we need to start contacting the authors, as Matt said, and I can't think of one incident where I've contacted an author and asked for access to a journal or an article where I've been turned down. These people are they're working hard, they're publishing journals, articles, and they want it in the public domain. So it's only an incident that, coincidence that they're behind a paywall because there's somebody has spotted a commercial enterprise there by charging for them. So yeah, I encourage all my members to write. If you see an article or a journal entry that you're interested in, write to the author, contact them via social media, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. If they say we're exclusively behind the paywall, then let me take it up on your behalf.
Yeah, sound advice. Okay, Scott, what I'd like to do, people who are watching, if you've done this survey, then maybe you could drop something in the comments. I'm interested to see who hasn't done the survey, because there were such great questions. Did you have to think a lot about the questions themselves, or did it just come out naturally?
No, I think I just kind of made a couple of bits that I kind of wanted to find out about. I mean, there's introductory stuff. Funnily enough, I mean, when I downloaded all the stuff for this bit, there was 122 people had taken part. One had decided on the first bit that they didn't agree and didn't want to take part, but carried on anyway, which I thought was a bit strange. But yeah, so it's the first bit was more about getting just a background on who they are, basically, what levels of qualifications were out there, how experienced they are with terms of length of being in the industry, full-time, part-time, whether that's going to play a part. You know, 'cause if somebody's part-time, then they're only doing it for a couple of hours a week. Are they going to be as motivated to pay in an association to kind of help them, or are they more likely? And then one of the ones I wanted to find out was how many people, what the split is between employed and self-employed, or whether people are both. And it's very, very high in the self-employed, very, very high. So I'm looking at the most up-to-date one at this present moment. And we have 132 respondents on it, and only 2 of them are employed only. The rest are all self-employed, or actually other, whatever other is between employed and self-employed.
Still running the survey. I'm just thinking.
Yeah, it's still open. It's still open.
Have you got like a termination date, or I mean,
I can extend it. So I think it's got another. I put on until February.
Okay,
but I can just extend it.
So if you're listening to this recording, or somebody's listening to this recording on YouTube or on the podcast, then where's the easiest place for them to find the?
So it's obviously on the description of this. I think it was placed in the description of this. I can post it again in the members group. I can post it on the open group. It was in various. Feel free to contact me. You drop me a message. I'll send the link over. You know, I'm happy for anybody about. And at the same time, if there's any other people who are part of another association or whatever, you know, this information isn't exclusive to us. That's not why I did this. You know, the whole thing is to try and benefit everybody and see what members want, what they're happy with, what they're not happy with, to give people a chance to change.
To give people an idea, what sort of how many associations did you have reply? What sort of percentage were they? Or?
So let me just find the question. It was very heavily STA. So, which doesn't surprise me because it was posted in the STA group first, and obviously because I posted it in there, it got quite a lot. So 54% were STA. Then I think it was 5% BASRAT, Society of Sports Therapy, STO, SMA, ISRM, FHT, and then there was a few which aren't members of anyone.
Of course, that's really healthy. Yeah, it's bound to be. I mean, we do lead the way in excellence, but it's the fact that you put it out there means, a load of STA members are going to be answering it. No, it's really healthy that other people from different associations answered as well. That's good. So yeah, just to reiterate, if you are interested in this survey, then you can either contact Scott Loynes directly, or you can come along to the STA Facebook page and you'll find it posted on there. And it will probably run to at least February. It's a great one for all sports therapists and soft tissue therapists to get involved in, because it wasn't just to reiterate, it wasn't just for sports therapists, was it, Scott?
No. So it's basically, because obviously we don't just look after sports therapists. That's not what we're about. And there's other people that don't, you know. So it was more about getting a snapshot of our industry. So I regard our industry as sports therapy and soft tissue therapy. You know, there's crossovers. Don't want to go into arguments about qualification levels and stuff, which does come up in this, to be honest. So yeah, it's for soft tissue therapists, sports massage therapists, sports therapists. So I had a few physios say, "Can I fill it in?" Like, well, you can, but it's not really. If you're a member, then yeah. But it's more for kind of see what the members of our supposed unregulated industry say, because at the end of the day, we need to become more self-regulated. A lot of people don't want to be HCPC, which, to be honest, I don't see the whole lot of benefit of. So it's more about raising standards of the industry as a whole. So we're not falling behind, and we're not massage parlors and beauty therapists. So we're not part of that anymore. We can kind of say, look, this is our minimum standard. This is what we do as an industry, not just the STA, as an industry, and just get more recognition for us as a whole.
I think what's happened over COVID, over the various lockdowns, is that collaboration between the associations is at an all-time high. You know, I have weekly conversations with Maria from the ISRM. I have regular contact with a couple of the directors of the SMA. I speak, you know, whenever necessary to Ollie at Basrat, all of whom are really generous in sharing their advice and discussing with us, you know, their thoughts on what. And you know what, if we look at the big picture, regulation for sports therapy has been talked about for, you know, 20 years. Okay, there have been previous applications, and the applications have been turned down. You know, sports therapy was an aspirant group until approximately 2012, 2013. But, you know, like many people who were at university, I was told that by the time the Olympics happened in London, we would be statutorily regulated. And yet I'd read all of the HPC, as it was called, the Health Professionals Council. I'd read all of the minutes of the meetings. I'd had access to some of the communications between the HPC and the original applicant. So in 2010, I believe, Enabling Excellence government white paper came out and said that there was, you know, no machinery of government, there's no funding, there's no money, no will for a statutory regulation. And statutory regulation might not be through HCPC. You know, the Professional Standards Authority have a number of regulatory remits, if you like. They oversee a number of regulators. And more recently, a government white paper was called Reforming Regulation, and it spoke, you know, quite explicitly about professional associations, membership organisations taking more of a regulatory role. And one of the vehicles that's available for us to do this is the accredited register, which is through the Professional Standards Authority. Now, Basrat, they're the holders of an accredited register. And their membership fee includes registration, but registration on the accredited register is not mandatory. It used to be called voluntary regulation, but the wording was changed. So in theory, if you're on an accredited register, you subscribe to the regulatory powers of your association or your register. Now, the FHT have a register as well. They have an accredited register, but they've got multiple facets to their membership arm. You know, so they have beauty therapists, they have reflexologists, they have sports massage therapists, soft tissue therapists, sports therapists, etc. Now, I can't find any clear criteria for joining their register. The Complementary Natural Healthcare Council, CNHC, they also have an accredited register, which is multidiscipline. They, when I last looked, which was a couple of years ago, and bearing in mind this started in 2010, 2011, there were 165 sports therapists who were registered on the accredited register or voluntary regulated. So I don't think there's the will of the industry to go down that route, the accredited register route. And when I spoke to the Professional Standards Authority last, which is during lockdown 1, the current costs for an accredited register is in the region of £15,000 to £18,000 to set it up in the first year, and then it's £15,000 plus an amount per head, per member, per registrant, if you like. So again, it might be 15,000 to 18,000 per annum, and that's unsustainable for STA. And some of the comments that came out on social media from therapists, soft tissue therapists, sports therapists alike, was, you know, we demand more recognition, we demand regulation, we demand more respect from the wider industry. You know, my message to those people is, well, be more professional. You know, we've got members we've got therapists who are not members of associations, you know, ringing up various associations and saying, you know, can I join you? Does it mean I can continue to work during the lockdown? And I turned down a number of membership applications from people who just said, I want to join so I can carry on working. And I said, no, I don't want you. I don't want to accept your application. Go away and research us. You know, look at what the association does. You know, ask on social media. You know, whether we're supportive, whether we meet the needs. And I've said before, we'll never meet of every member. You know, and I've been criticised by several members for taking actions and, if you like, separating graduate sports therapists and rehabilitators from the soft tissue therapists and the advanced soft tissue therapists during lockdown 1, when, you know, we were given information that the only light at the end of the tunnel was that the graduate role could or might be considered for exclusion from the restrictions. But, you know, our friends at the SMA, they'd done some brilliant work in the lockdown, and they've got us actually categorised with the BEIS, I think it is, and it's the part of the Office for National Statistics. And you may have noticed that in the first lockdown we were massage parlours and beauty, close contact services, and then, you know, I think it was July we then became sports and massage therapies. And that was on the back of the work that the SMA did, you know, as part of the wider industry. You know, we're all doing things in our own way. We're all, you know, trying to make inroads, if you like, into the politics of this industry. But you know, moving forward, you know, we all have to demonstrate professionalism. We all have to, you know, get behind the association, because that's where the regulators are going to shift. Quite sure about that. So whether you choose to join the STA, the SST, or FHC, that's entirely your decision. But one thing I would say, that, you know, if we want as an industry to be separated from beauty industry and from some of the other more holistic therapies, then we should join an association that meets our industry needs. And I know a lot of colleges that they advocate joining the FHT. Well, you know, nothing against what the FHT does, you know, for the majority of its members, but I don't think it fully represents or values its soft tissue therapists and its sports therapists and its sports rehabilitators as much as a sort of a specific membership association.
There you go. A lot of information in that. Yeah, I mean, there's questions inside it's interesting. We're going to go look at the questions inside the actual survey, because that covers a lot of what people's expectations are. And I guess there's always I mean, we're human at the end of the day, aren't we? There's always going to be people who think, oh, well, I need to find an excuse to be able to work again, and let's ring up Gary and become members. And I'm glad that I belong to an association which is, you know, wise enough to not just allow that to happen. So let's bring up some of these questions. People in the room as well. I'm hoping there's a bit of disagreement. We'll have a look. Let's bring some of these up. After what, as Scott said, there was an introduction about how long you've been in the industry, what your employment situation is. Then it got to the questions in question 3. I'm going to bring this up on full screen. I'll read it out for people who are actually watching the pod or listening to the podcast. I mean, straight away, it's something which could be a whole episode on discussion-wise. But question 3 was, being a member of a professional body will enhance my own reputation. And we could even just dwell on that for a while. So if you're part of an association, does it actually help your own reputation? I wonder how many people listening live actually have joined with that in mind. Do you wear your badge proudly? Is it something you're proud of, and you think that clients actually enjoy seeing that? Are they able to look up your details if you put STA logo or something on there? So people joining us live, let me know about that. Do you fly the flag? Is it useful to you as a professional?
I may, Matt, because you know, when I'm speaking to people, I speak to dozens of people every day, dozens of members, and you know, several times a day, I'm asked, what should I put on my business card? how do I attract new clients? And I say, well, with respect, don't bother putting your STA logo on there. Don't bother putting your level 3, level 4, level 5. Don't bother putting your, soft tissue therapy on there, because they don't know what that means. You need to make a connection with them. And some of the work that Tom's been doing with our social media is trying to get us as an individual therapist to think about the value that we as a therapist, not necessarily our intervention, has. How much we change that person's life. If they're out of pain, then they can do a lot more of what they would normally do. So it does benefit you, because it also benefits us. There's a mutual benefit. The more members we get, the louder our voice becomes. And if you display your STA logo on your Facebook, your social media, then it does get us more noticed. And it does imply or infer that you subscribe to a professional association, and doing so, etc. But it's, I wouldn't put it on my.
That's your founder there telling you not to. I think we need Tom. Tom, if you're listening, can you come and join us, please? That's just you being modest, Gary. I mean, I personally think that, I think that you should all have the STA logo just little in the corner. I think that it's useful for clients to. I want the clients to ask about it. I mean, I think the general public like to have a.
Would it not kind of give a bit more confidence to the general public of kind of going, oh, the part of them, so there must be kind of there's that kind of thing. So it's multifaceted, is it? Does it
all the time, don't they? They like to see a affiliated with or part of it. And a lot of the time it's bad because it's just a false kind of advertising. But when we got something we can be proud of, I think it'd be nice for the public to actually start saying one day in my nirvana, oh, you remember the STA? Oh, that's fine. Yeah, say no more. Yeah, I'll book in with you, Gary doesn't want that, but I think it would be.
People turn up to my clinic when I was in clinical practice and say, oh, I was at a tennis tournament in Huntingdon and I saw your name and your logo on a certificate on the wall. So, it is recognisable, and we are definitely more recognisable and respected than we were 5 years ago. But yeah, okay, I'll bow to your superior knowledge, Matt, and put a small.
No, don't do that. God no, you're the boss. I just, I kind of think, I don't know. I'm just proud of the STA. I think I know that amongst my colleagues who are what we've seen amongst physiotherapists, amongst other practitioners who could potentially be referring you clients and working with you, there's an awful lot of respect for our association now. And we've seen a lot of physio guests come in and actually say, oh, yeah, the STA, oh, no, we love what the STA is doing, and a lot of other associations are now copying what we're doing. And there's no better kind of flattery than that, isn't it? If you're doing something right, then other people start copying. So, but, I don't
like to say, I think it's multifaceted. Does it enhance your reputation within the industry, or does it enhance your reputation with the general public? I mean, we could have gone on several different ways on just that question, but literally just decided to get a snapshot of it. So yeah, it was a pretty open-ended question.
What did most people say out of interest?
It was 70% agree,
Okay.
23% neutral, 7% disagree. So most people think that it will enhance. There's more stuff in the comments section because there's like different parts where people can kind of expand on, which we haven't kind of put out there, because I mean some of the comments on there I haven't released them publicly because some of them kind of are a little bit negative towards, a little bit personal, should we say. So that's not what it was. It's not what it was about.
No. Let's have a look. Let's sort, because there's so many questions here. Oh, I've just got rid of it. Where'd it go? There we go. Let's bring up and also in the comments, people, let's just make sure did anybody say anything about the logo in here? Catherine says, we love what Catherine says. I love the STA. I have the STA logo on my Facebook page, but as I only joined in February, I've not been able to add it to my uniform. We weren't even talking about uniforms. As Gary said, most of the general public don't know what the STA is, let alone what a sports massage therapist is. Yeah, you got a point, Catherine. Yeah, but I think in most industries, the general public do like to have logos, and if you've got something you can be proud of, I think it can open the door. I don't know, but just don't rely on it. I think that was Gary's big point: is don't rely on it. Don't think that's going to do the job for you.
One of the things that happened when we were at the Elite Expo, before it went to London, before it went to the XL, I'll say Earl's Court, but I might be geographically incorrect there. Was a lot of people came up to us, and we still have membership applications now. When you have to fill in your STA number, that I get these really weird membership numbers. So I contact them and say, look, you know, I'm sorry, but the membership number you've given to join our closed group is incorrect. You know, could you confirm your actual membership number? I say, no, this is it. It's on my certificate, and they send me a picture of the certificate, and it's the Swimming Teachers Association. So, you know,
yeah. That's the trouble with acronyms. Yeah, there's quite a few of that, isn't there? And also the whole flight company as well. That comes up a lot if you're not careful on the STA, whatever it is. Yeah, it's true. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at some more questions, because I really do like these. Okay, so being a member of a professional body can benefit the industry as a whole. So there we touched on. Yeah, I mean, I would be. I had to really take off my "it depends" hat. Obviously, it depends what professional body you're part of as to whether it's going to benefit the whole industry.
That was the reason there was 3 options rather than kind of more than 3 options. People can't sit on the fence as much. That was the reason.
Yeah, because there is that danger as well, isn't it? If I suppose it's subjective to a point, but if you're an association which is, for example, selling its own training courses and cherry picking what it wants to offer because it's making money out of it, that doesn't sound like a very healthy association for the industry as a whole. So it is quite a big depends question that I thought. Potentially, yes, that's the way it should be, isn't it? But
I think if, like what we were saying earlier on, if we can get everybody kind of pushing towards better standards, then yes, it will be.
What was the response like on that, out of interest?
Being a membership, 88.2% agree. So only 2.4% disagree.
Yeah.
So
it's a strength in numbers thing, isn't it? If we all, as a soft tissue therapist or a sports therapist or a sports rehabilitator, if we all got behind our associations, you know, and the associations collaborated more, and there are only 2 associations membership wise that don't collaborate with anybody else and perceive themselves as elitist. But if we all got to be singing from the same hymn sheet, and we could all contact the sports governing bodies and the government and the various departments of government, then the industry will be a lot stronger.
Like you say, I think one of the positive things coming out of COVID-19 will be being closer to that. More communication, I think, something to look forward to. It's good to always have some rosy glasses on as well. I mean, the next question was, should it be mandatory to be able to practice? Should you be part of an association, regardless of what association it is?
So what's kind of thoughts here? I mean, I know what my thoughts are.
I'm just gonna say it depends on the association. But Gary, let's go over to you. Should it be mandatory? Should you be allowed to practice if you're not part of an association?
Yes, I think you should. I think you should be free to make your choice. But if you make the choice not to be a member of an association, please don't ring me up and ask me for guidance.
That's good.
You know, if we made everything compulsory, I would be uncomfortable with it. Not least because, let's just say that, you know, a training school produces 100 soft tissue therapists a year. Okay, 18 months time, 65% of those won't be working in the industry. So the association, for the free student membership and the free upgrade to a practitioner membership, you know, we've had to incur administrative costs, you know, issuing certificates and membership applications. And 18 months down the line, they just don't even bother responding to their email, their registered email, because they're not in the industry. And I think fundamentally there's something wrong with the industry, with the training industry, because it's not preparing people to be occupationally competent, and it's not preparing the candidates to be one of those 98% of people who are self-employed. So when after Christmas, when we talked with a couple of guys who were you know, fully conversant with the with qualifications, that's one of the questions I'll be asking them, is that, why are qualifications not producing people who can actually survive in this industry?
I'm definitely coming along to that one. I'm really looking forward.
So if we made it mandatory though, so if it was a mandatory thing, could we not have more power in what the training providers are kind of saying? It's like, well, no, your members cannot, your graduates cannot join us unless they fulfill X, Y, and Z. So it could potentially give different associations and bodies more power in that, because then we could set a minimum guideline of membership.
I go back to a saying that, back from my military days, I would rather have 1 volunteer than 10 pressed men.
You can't argue with that, Scott.
Yeah, I suppose.
You know what I mean? It's that face he pulled after finishing that. It was just like, yeah, you're right, Gary. It's one of those moments. It's good. But I see what you mean, Scott, as well. Yeah, if everybody had to join and they had to look and be one, then you could be a bit more stringent on.
That question was more born out of kind of the, how do we get more control of the industry to allow us to be mentioned in the same breath as HCPC registered kind of professions? So how do we get to that standard when we've got, a percentage of them who are just out doing whatever, not doing any training, they qualified 10 years ago and haven't done anything? How is that protecting the industry? Because those people are allowed to kind of just do whatever they want with the general public, and that gives our industry a bad name.
Just being devil's advocate here, if training, if membership was mandatory, then you then also have to mandate CPD to make sure the standards are upheld. Whereas, if you use the methodology of 1 volunteer, if somebody volunteers to come to an association, they usually volunteer to do the CPD. So that's one of the reasons that I think that mandating membership would cause an administrative nightmare for all of the associations, whoever they are. The audit process would be tiresome. People don't even, members who volunteer, some of them don't answer their emails. But if you've got somebody who you're telling has to be a member of an association, you're then having to tell them that they've got to do CPD. You're then having to tell them they've got to do what the standards are, etc. So I don't know. I'll remain on the fence, but I'm erring towards volunteers instead of pressmen.
I mean, that also ties in maybe with what the product is, what you said before about why are people doing the training and coming out ill-equipped to actually survive in the industry. And maybe because they're being told what to do, they're just doing it because they have to pass the exam, and that's the way they're being taught, rather than actually being encouraged to actually volunteer to learn this information, to get the desire to better themselves and to kind of question things. And so, yeah, I'm leaning a bit towards that as well. I think better to get somebody who wants to come to you.
How many courses actually teach people how to run a business, though? We've already seen there how many people in this industry are self-employed. I started years ago when I first finished school. I started on a HND, which was had a rehab part. There was nothing there. I did sports massage qualifications. Then I did my degree, and I did my master's. In all of that, there was not one bit of here's how you run a business. I've learned how to run a business from a different profession that I left sports therapy to go to. So I know how to run a business and how to look at a profit and loss and how to make a profit and cuts. And I know how to do that bit. I know the marketing bit from that. A lot of people don't.
Well, here's the qualifications that I believe are not fit for purpose at the moment. And one of the people we were going to have on to discuss this, they're expecting a child imminently, so they couldn't commit to coming on before Christmas.
Well, you could never have anyone expecting a child imminently, could you, Scott? They wouldn't.
No, not late 3 any day now.
Yours due, Scott, just out of interest.
So she's due on the 4th of January, but it's looking like before Christmas. So
how do you feel now?
Well, she's in the house.
Sorry,
so if you see the back door open.
Yeah, you were saying, Gary, no responsible father-to-be would actually come on a web chat show. Yeah. Continue.
Especially when you haven't had your nail.
I know.
So I think that the industry, the awarding organisations do need to put in an occupational competency standard for business. And I know that some people who I talk to who run training schools, and they might deliver a level 3, for example, they will include it as an extra module. But it's a competition. We've got people running courses, and they're trying to create a marketing advantage by adding a numerical level, or by cutting hours down so that you can do it as an intensive course, and you can do blended learning. The delivery varies across the board, even though the qualification might be the same. So to try and get people to add in an extra module, which is going to bump up the course costs, I think is a really good idea. I don't think the awarding organisations would wear that.
Yeah, Tom's joined us, and I think it's not just our business; it's missing from a lot of industries too. Not preparing people for the real life out there. Yeah,
well, this is one of the things that Tom and I identified some time ago, and we've been developing for a number of months. That if you come out of you've got your qualification, your level 3, 4, 5, whatever, and you come out, there is a high probability that you'll feel isolated. As that support from that training provider ceases, where do you then go and get your support? And one of the things that we wanted to do with the STA was to make that support available. And that's why we've introduced the mentorship scheme. And it's not about identifying really how to run a business, but it's about identifying how you as a person can be a successful therapist. How to run a business comes after that. You need to, sort out your unique selling point, or, what your moral compass dictates you to do with regards to, the therapist you are. So, we have got this. We've run a pilot on this mentorship scheme, and the feedback has been tremendous. So this is something that we're going to roll out, and it will be available every 3 months. We'll run it for 2 months, with a 1 month break in between, so we can refresh, we can reflect, etc. So this might be where the professional associations can come in, and there will be a cost to this, of course, to the person who wants to go on it. But we've subsidising it, and I'm subsidising it for all of the regional representatives. Going to go on it 2 at a time. So I think this is a really good opportunity for the associations to step up to the mark and say, look, we've accepted you as a member. You've paid your membership fee. We are going to do our damnedest to support you so that you are a successful therapist.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to seeing that coming out. Scott, one of the other questions, we're getting close to 9 o'clock now. There was a question about support from regional reps on there as well, which I'm interested in hearing.
Yeah, I try not to call it regional reps in there. So it was more like, so it was kind of, what do you find important? There was a list of stuff. What do you find important from a professional association? And one of the things that came out was having a support network of therapists.
Oh, yeah, the local support network.
So that was kind of, that came from, you look at our page, it is a support network. We've got a lot of like-minded people, or people who will challenge people in the right way, not just attack people. And then we've also having access to a local network, local support network, and local representatives. And that came out as one of the highest things, one of the most important things. Only one person said, out of currently it's 132 people who've responded, only one person have said that's not important. And 78% of people have said they would find that important. So I mean, I can't speak for all the other professional bodies out there, but I know we do it, because we're part of it, so how many other associations have that?
Well, the Sports Massage Association have regional directors. So, I'm in regular contact with the one from Scotland, so I know that they do it.
So it's something that's wanted by people, but it's not something that probably a lot of stakeholders have ever thought of, but it's having that person just around the corner who you can talk to, rather than phoning Gary up. You might not want to phone Gary up. You might want to phone somebody who's kind of, not saying I don't.
Becky pointed out in the comments, actually, she said before this summer, we don't need to know who it was, but she doesn't say it, which is very, very gracious of her. But before this summer, I'd been a member of another professional association organisation for 16 years. I may as well have been without a professional body with how little support I received. The only time I heard off them was when they wanted money off me. Yeah, we hear that quite a bit, Becky. I think you're not alone there.
That cropped up quite a bit in the comment section about kind of never hear from them, too expensive. I mean, that kind of took me by surprise. I went away and looked at some of the other prices of other professional bodies, and I can see why people sometimes think it's expensive, but then you look at ours and it really isn't.
Oh, I worry, actually, Gary. I mean, I teach, and I'd say to my students, look, you're going to need, for example, student insurance whilst you're training and stuff. And like, I mean, I say I'm biased and I love this organization and this is who you can go with. And I put the price up there and they've already maybe had a little look around and they're like, is that for everything? And I worry a little bit inside how many people look at it and think, well, they must be terrible if they're charging that little. Why they're offering? Because there is quite a big difference, isn't there, between the price? Does that ever worry you, Gary, that maybe you're putting it too cheap?
No, not at all. And the reason being is that when I was involved in the industry some years ago, let's just say 10 years ago, I had another role in the industry, and every meeting I attended was, right, how can we get more money out of our members and how can we do less for them? And I thought, surely that's the wrong way around. You know, how can we do more for them and take less from them, so it's a better value for money? So as you know, we've had a price rise this year, and that was just, because our costs went up. You know, our insurance costs went up by 2,000%, believe it or not. So, it's ridiculous, but it happened because the guidance that we might be giving in a global pandemic is a high risk. So we paid lots of money for insurance this year, but it's a scale thing for me. I would rather have 1,000 members paying 50 quid than 50 members paying 1,000 quid, because we're generating the community. And and let's be honest, there are associations who've been there for 20, 30 years, if you believe what they say on their website. And I encourage everybody to, it's simple to check up on an association. Check where the money's going. Just go to Companies House Beta. It's all free to access. You can see who the directors are. You can see their filing history. You can see how much money they've got in the bank on a yearly basis. You can see, some companies are out there and they say, yes, their financial statement will be as little as, we've got 100 shares worth £1 each and we've got £100 worth of liabilities. And so they're just ticking do the minimum and not being transparent, in my opinion. But yeah, go and check us all out on Companies House.
Yeah, transparency is a virtue.
I think one of the things, I mean, when I first, it kind of jumped out to me was it's a not-for-profit. There's nobody making, it's here for the love of the industry and to help therapists, not to make money out of therapists. And I don't think, as an association, I haven't been a member for as long as a lot of people. I've been a member since the beginning of the first lockdown. I think that's a massive point, which I personally hold that quite high. It's, these people aren't here to make money out of me. They're here to help me.
If you look at the professional bodies, the membership bodies, okay, and look at the ones who are using the term association. Now, they are the only ones who had dispensation from HMRC to call themselves an association, because they have to demonstrate and prove they're not for profit. If you're not an association, if you're one of the other I don't want to use terms here, but body, body association, and you're claiming to be not for profit, unfortunately that's an untruth.
I never knew that. That's interesting.
Learn something new every day there, don't you?
Associations, power of the association. Right, look, it's 9:01. So people, I mean, I hope if you're listening online that some of the questions here, I mean, you might not agree with everything we say, hopefully you don't, but it's definitely, hopefully it's giving you the incentive to go and do this survey. Like I say, if you can't find it, I mean, it is on our Facebook page. You can contact Scott Loynes directly. What's the best way for people to contact you, Scott?
I will post my thing in the comments. I'll post my I'll comment in the comments, so people can either message me through there, or I'll post my business email in there as well.
Okay, brilliant, fantastic. Yeah, so I mean, it's great that you're doing it, Scott, because it's surveys like this which really help people voice what they want, and it makes life, I won't say easier for Gary, because nothing makes life easier, Gary, but it gives Gary more fuel and information to try and perfect the whole STA and everything we do. So yeah, people, do the survey, and yeah, send those results, and let's hope by next week we've got another 130 people have actually filled it out.
I mean, it's a shame we haven't got longer on it, because there's loads
so many great questions in there. But as always, we always say at the end of every show, we'll do a follow-up to this. But when it has doubled, when we got kind of 300 plus, it'd be interesting to see whether the percentages changed. I automatically wish there'd been a survey done, and it's just silly saying it, but before COVID. I wonder how much things have changed because of COVID. People really want support now, but that's neither here nor there. It's important that we're helping people what they need now.
Can I add then that let's put it out there again. Let's put the survey link out there. Let's discuss it again in a month's time. When we have monthly catch up, let's go over if things have changed. Let's go over some of the other important things that were put in there, so that we are progressing. We as an association, it's not about me. It's about you lot. It's about the members. I want the members to tell me what they want me to prioritize, whether it's fighting discrimination in the workplace, whether it's tackling insurance companies, whether it's creating member benefits or giving away money, to training bursaries, things like tell me what you want, because it's, I have my trusted advisors who I speak to regularly, but it's a guessing game for me at the moment. So let's just, while we're on the subject then, 12 days of Christmas. I'm not a very festive person. I have been called a humbug in the past many times. But what I'm willing to do this year, I'm willing to do 12 days of Christmas. Okay. I'm not going to wear a Christmas hat or reindeer antlers or flashing lights. But what I am going to do is every day, Thursday, I think should work out from the 10th to the 23rd of December, I'm going to give away a prize. Okay. Look in the members group for details. It's only for members, unfortunately, unless I decide to give some free memberships away to non-members, then it'll appear on the open group. So watch this space. We've got courses to give away, we've got products to give away, we've got free memberships to give away, free renewals, etc. So 12 days of Christmas, ho ho ho.
That ho 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 was going to be turned into a soundbite.
Just want to give them stuff away.
You can't help it.
No, don't forget. I posted in the group the other day about, so we want feedback from our members. So short video clip, 20, 30 seconds maximum, send it into us about how the STA has benefited you, what you have found, anything. I'll put some suggestions in there. And we're going to do random prize draw for 2 training bursaries. So 150 and £100 to spend on whatever training bursary, however you want to spend it, funded by Gary, basically. So giving more money away.
I might do this myself. I've identified the course I want.
Fantastic, guys. Brilliant. Right, so there we go. Normally I'll say disappear and I'll see you afterwards, but I may as well just announce next week's speaker now while I'm there. There were the results. Well, we'll look at them. We'll compare them, and when we do our month's recap in a month's time. But anyway, yeah, next week on Let's Talk About Sports Therapy Association podcast, we've got this guy's name, Nick. Okay, that's how you pronounced it. I even checked it on YouTube. Nick is going to be with us, which I'm really excited about. For those of you who don't know Nick, he's the founder and editor of Massage and Fitness magazine, which is a great publication. It was paper, and recently they turned online. It's from the States. He's in San Diego, if I remember rightly. But when it comes to kind of putting the science into massage and into massage therapy, the magazine's produced some fantastic writers. People like Alice Sanvito have written for them, who was a speaker at One Chat Live conference. A lot of really high quality therapists out there have written for the magazine. Now it's all online. So Nick is going to come along in person live from the States, and talked to us about the startings of the magazine, what the goals were, and what some of the most popular articles have been, because it is a very sought after and read and a very good fountain of CPD as well. So I encourage any of you who haven't looked at it yet to look it up. So much free stuff on there. There's no paywalls behind it or anything. You just so many articles on there specific for massage, which is what we're all talking about. So he'll be here answering questions next week, next Tuesday at 8 o'clock, which I'm very excited about. There's a lovely bloke as well. So do join us for that. Gary, can you any closing words without giving away any money or anything?
Yeah, actually, I've got a couple of things I'd like to say. Firstly, to apologise to Ben Mace Crosley, who's in the group tonight, and to Kelly Lara. I promised you a prize some time ago, and I chased up on that prize today, and it appears that the email that I sent to the person who was going to facilitate that had gone into junk mail. So check your email boxes in the next couple of days. We will be giving you a free year to therapistlearning.com. And secondly, some of you may remember my daughter Summer, who was responsible for doing all of the admin for the last 4 or 5 years while she was studying at college. She graduates on Thursday as an RAF PTI. So this year she has spent, in basic training and learning the art of being a physical training instructor for the RAF. And so on Thursday afternoon, we can't go to the graduation, but we've got an online graduation ceremony, if you like. So congratulations to Summer. I'm sure everybody, who knows her would like to add a comment for her so she can read these comments, because she was a stalwart with regard to the admin, and she's a great person, and I'm really proud of what she's achieving. So well done, Summer.
Excited. Well done, Summer. Well done, Gary, for bringing up yet another fantastic child.
And on that, then the admin has been taken over, and you may have noticed an increase in text messages, messenger messages, emails, speedier service than when I was managing on my own. My son was made redundant. My eldest son. I've got 5 kids. The eldest one was made redundant from his aerospace logistics job earlier in the year, and he's a business management graduate. So he's come on board now, and he's taking over the admin and allowing me to do more of the, the talking to members, the phone calls, the dealing with the other associations. So some of the work that Jake's doing, you may notice him on the email. That's my eldest, and you'll be seeing him at the expos with us moving forward. So welcome, Jake.
Yeah, welcome, Jake. Great, lovely bloke. Right, okay. I think we'll finish with this comment from Tom. Just making a fact. You've never seen Father Christmas and Gary Benson in the same room together. Just saying. Thanks, people. We'll see you next week. Take care of each other.